Hello everyone, and welcome back to career mode. We've had a couple of weeks off, but now we're back with a vengeance, and as you can see there, we are in Singapore, just like my last league race. I'm of course still in that Force India, which I almost forgot. I thought I was in the catering for a minute when I jumped back in Korea, until I saw this car, and remembered that of course I've moved to Force India. But here we are then qualifying, so showing my setup, I have for this career only, out of interest, I've used my league setup, but I will be reverting to a more simple setup in future career videos. You can see just adjusting my gear ratio slightly there, but I will be reverting to a much more basic setup in future career videos, so I think it makes it generally more entertaining. I don't want to be fiddling too much with setups, as I realise that it can be quite boring to watch because you think it's all about the setup. But as I said, for this race only, just out of interest to see what a difference it makes, I will be sticking with my league setup. And I've done a couple of practice laps, bearing in mind that my pole time in Singapore in the league online with equal cars was a 40.0, and we'll see what I can do in quali. So as always, this is just a qualifying video. The race video will probably be next week. But there we go then. So coming to the first corner then, DRS was wide open down the pit straight, taking it a little bit easy, as I always do. Get a bit of a banker in on the first lap. Like my outside wheel slightly there, but wasn't too many dramas. So getting a banker lap in then, not pushing too hard, trying not to anyway, just to get a half decent lap in. So you saw I went for full short gear ratios, but actually, as you can see there, they're still not short enough. I'm still not reaching the rev limiter on the longest straight on the circuit, so that's not great. But can't do wrong about that. Like I said, I've gone as short as possible. There we go. Ooh, as I run wide there and touch the barrier, lose a bit of my front wing. That's not good. It's going to slow me down a little bit, but not too much. Doesn't usually feel too much different without just part of your front wing missing. So one thing I didn't mention as well, I've gone to prime tyres. So on this, as I've also forgot as well, because it's been a little while, I'm sure you guys might have forgotten some bits as well. I do a full qualifying session for my career mode. So this is quali 1. I need to just stay outside the bottom 7, be inside the top 16, is it? Somewhere around there. Or is it 18? I think it might be 18. Stay inside the top 18, and I'm through to the next session. But I've gone for a set of the prime tyres in this session, just because I think I can comfortably get through. Force India isn't the fastest car out there, but I feel pretty good, particularly with my league setup, which I know is quick since I won that race quite comfortably. So coming to the final section now then, what's it going to be? In practice I was doing 44s, was it, or 43s, somewhere on there, I'm sure about to find out. This should be faster than my practice laps, so yeah, it looks like I was doing 44s in practice then. But I can definitely go faster than that. Of course, made that mistake when I hurt my front wing. And there's also a bit of a bank lap, you can see already, pushing harder. Bouncing over the curbs a bit more. Getting fastest lap, 44.3 as you can see there. Only Senna and Petrov have set lap so far, so... Ooh, touched the barrier again, but managed to not damage the front wing that time, but a bit of a clunk. But didn't cost me too much time. So, braking right down now then, trying to get it slowed down, winded up running wide. That's not great, 2 tenths down. On my previous, it's not been a great first sector at all. Probably pushed a little bit too hard, particularly in that last braking zone. Going to try and make it up in the middle sector to see what I can do. Still pushing hard through the Singapore sling then, taking the curbs nicely, making sure I don't cut any corners. I did cut a corner there though, and got a warning and got my lap disallowed. So I'll go to the mixture and return to garage. One thing I will mention as well, I've changed the way I do these videos slightly. It will be the same up until we get to quali 3, and when we get into quali 3, I won't be doing any skipping of time. It of course does cause, as you can see there, look, the drivers looks like they're coming the end of it in. Looks like they're coming in the pits at the end of every lap, which isn't good. So in quali 3, I won't bother in these early qualifying sessions, but in quali 3, I'll do a full session. It's only a 10-minute session as well, so it won't be too long. But the only thing I will do is I'll drive out. No, I won't. I'll do a flying lap on my very first lap, because that's when everyone else is doing that lap anyway. And from there, I won't skip any time. So I'll do fill-in laps and everything like that. So first then, in quali 1, comfortably through, no worries at all. As I hoped on the prime tyres, even though I couldn't get that second lap in, but the first lap was good enough. So quali 2 now then, I will go straight on the options in this session. As you see there, the red marked super soft tyres. So going for a flying lap then. As I said, I will skip time in these sessions, just not in the last one. So as it counts down then, suddenly relinquishes control of my car. These tyres already feel better. You can see visually with the camera it's turning in, it's biting a lot better on the track, turn-in's a lot better. So hopefully I should get a better lap. What was it? It's 44, wasn't it? I do believe it was a 44.3 last lap in quali 1, so hoping to beat that then. Ooh, that's not how you do it though. Ran wide, just got the braking wrong. Locked me into the wheel slightly and pushed me wide. Never touched the apex off that last corner. But there we go, DRS is open now then. This corner's critical to get a good run out for this very long next straight, and I've nailed it. That's what I needed to do. DRS is open, using about half my cars. Coming to the end of the straight now then. What's it going to be? 28.9, no idea what that means, but that's a number. DRS is open once again then, for the run between the corners. Ooh, I once again run wide and touch the wall, but not hard enough to damage our front wing, luckily this time. So just missed that curve. That's exactly what we want to do. You want to just skim the curb, not quite touch it. If you touch it a little bit, it unsettles the car. The curbs in Singapore, you either want to go all over them like that, like these next curbs. You want to be right on them like that, no messing about, all over them. Or you want to completely avoid them. You don't want to just touch them, because when you do that, it unsettles the car and pushes you wide, and you haven't really gained anything because you haven't really cut the corner at all. So we'll use the rest of my cars then. On this second straight, DRS is wide open once again. 1 minute 7.1. I was doing low 1 minute 5s in the league, so a couple of seconds slower than that already. But as I said, I never really expected to be as quick as that. Because of course we use equal cars, and they're probably equal to around about a McLaren. And even if I was in a McLaren, I wouldn't be able to manage it because the cars are slower in career mode until you get a few seasons in, and then I'm sure they speed up. But for now at least, they're not as quick as they should be compared to real life cars anyway. So DRS is open then, run to the final corner. Once again, just want to skim that curve if you can, which I did indeed. Could go a little bit closer, but it wasn't too bad. It's a 43.0, so pretty good lap then. I'm going to go for another one though, see if I can sneak into the 42s. Ooh, cut the corner slightly, but not too worried about that. I think I mentioned I'm going to try and not cut corners. I did used to cut corners a little bit in career mode, but then got into the league, and obviously you don't cut corners in a league, so I'm going to apply that also in career mode. So I'll do my best not to cut corners, but little corners, little cuts like that, I'm not going to bother abandoning the lap or anything. So 2.5 tenths up first sector then, so it's been a good first sector. That's of course because I didn't make that mistake in the first corner. Ooh, I run a little bit wide there in that last corner. Missed the apex slightly, so Maldonado's now second, Alonso's third. You can see there with a blue dib next to him, I've selected Alonso as my rival. So I will, if I beat him, I will have the opportunity at the end of the season to steal his Ferrari seat, but I won't be doing that. It's far too easy. Far too easy to beat a top team in this game, even on legendary mode. It's far too easy to say pick Lewis Hamilton, beat him, steal his seat and be at McLaren next season. I don't want to do that. I want to work my way through the ranks, so might be somewhere like Mercedes next season, Lotus. I will let you guys decide again, but I've lost time in the middle sector. Lost my 2.5 tenths. I'm only 100th of a second up on my previous, so that's not good. So it's not been a great middle sector at all, but that just proves that I am capable at least of a 40, probably a mid 42 with a perfect lap, but we'll see what happens on this lap. I might as well finish it now. I'm right at the end. It's not been a brilliant last sector, but it's not been terrible either. So DRS open then once again for the run to the line. Ooh, missed the apex slightly, wound up running a bit wide. DRS is open once again. Am I going to beat my time? Just about 300. I gained 200ths in the final sector and wound up 300ths up on my whole lap. So still didn't quite manage to get into the 42s, you can see that. But I'm still ahead of everyone else. Button's almost a second behind me. 9 tenths, just under to be precise. And everyone else is over a second, so it's looking pretty good. Looks like Lotus is pretty quick. Grosjean's there in third. Maldonado in 6th. Williams is pretty quick. So that's the end of the session then. Alonso's through. My teammate, I don't think he even made it into quali 2 actually. Disappointingly, but there we go. That was that session. Easily through once again fastest, so I'm looking good for pole. Can I do it? See a few shots here of Marina Bay here in Singapore. Of course it's a night race, so it's all dark. The track is floodlit, so we can see where we're going. So just checking then I've got the right tyres on. Brand spanking new set of options. As I said, I'm going to do a flying lap for the first lap only, and other than that I won't skip any time. So no fast forwarding, no returning to pits, no doing a flying lap. I've got to drive out the pits and I've got to do an in lap to get back into the pits. As I said, it's only a 10-minute session, so it's not too much more time, but it is worth it because it means we'll get a proper pole position shootout. There'll be no effectively cheating by me skipping time when I've got a good lap. If the AI can't get a good lap in when we're skipping time, so it'll be good representation. So braking now then down into the first corner. The track will have rubbered up a bit more between now and when I put my last lap in. So I should hopefully be able to get into the 32s. Hopefully I can manage a 32.5, but we'll see about that. As usual then, I'm doing a relatively conservative lap, first lap, but never too conservative. I never really drive that conservatively, but conservative by my standards anyway. I'm sure it's pretty quick by a lot of people's standards, but by my standards at least it's relatively conservative. So 28.6 first sector, so it's been a good first sector. Ooh, see touching the curb slightly, that's what I mentioned before. If you just touch them, it just unsettles the car and pushes you wide. So you don't want to be just touching them, you want to be all over them, or not at all. So braking now down into the Singapore sling. I'm going to cut the corners nicely, which I have done, but try and keep at least 2 wheels inside the white line if I can. Not easy to do around Singapore. You've got to be aggressive with the curbs, but you also got to obviously obey the rules. Try and keep your wheels inside the line. So using the rest of my curves then, DRS is wide open for the run down to the end of the second sector. I believe it was a 1 minute 7.2, was it? 1 minute 7.0, so it's definitely faster. It wasn't that quick. Maybe might only be a couple of hundreds quicker, but it's definitely quicker. So I won for a good first lap. Ooh, so I went slightly wide there. Wind up well all over the curb in the second part of that chicane. DRS is wide open now then for braking. Coming under that grandstand there, as you can see above you. Above me rather. Interesting feature, but a bit of a pointless one if you ask me. It just makes the track very, very narrow there, and it's not a pretty part of the track to drive on at all. And to be honest, it's probably not too good even for the spectators above. The DRS is open then for the run to the line. What's it going to be? It is a 42.7, so pretty good lap. But I'm giving up now. It looks like I was going to push hard then, but I gave up as soon as I hit the brakes. Got to lean then. Going to save the tyres just in case I don't improve on my next lap. I'm going to save the tyres for the race, as I know tyre wear will be reasonably high. I'm not going to struggle with tyre wear, I shouldn't imagine, particularly, but we know it's high tyre wear, so I don't want to be killing the tyres too much. So I'm on lean then to save fuel. Not that I particularly need to be, I'm not low on fuel, but it's just natural to do that. Just taking it easy, as I said, on my in lap. Don't want to burn my tyres too much. So going too slow through corners than I could be. Not turning the wheel so much, as you can see there, as I could be. I'm being very careful on the throttle not to get any wheel spin at all, and also not to lock the brakes, so braking quite early, but I also want to keep a reasonable amount of speed up, because I know it's quite a short session, and it's a very long track. So in lap will probably be something like 1 minute 50. So that's almost 2 minutes wasted just on a single lap. So as I said, I need to keep the pace up a little bit. Don't want to be much slower than that, but I'm still using DRS just to make me a bit faster. It's free in the straights, doesn't cost me any extra tyre wear, and it probably saves fuel if anything, so consensus not to use it. My engineer tells me it's 5 minutes left, so plenty of time though to get into the pits and get out for another lap. Even with doing an out lap, it's about a 2 minute out lap or so. So not too worried about that. You can see the clock counting down the top then, quali 3. Buttons in second then. I'm still got pole position for now. I will also be taking the proper bit entry in my career mode, rather than what I did online, was just cut over the curb. I thought everyone else was going to cut over the curb, but they didn't. But I know that for a fact that the AI will take the proper entrance, so it's only fair. So as we pull into the pits now, as I was saying, button second. Not too sure how far he is off of me yet. I'm sure we'll find out in a moment. You can hear a car coming past the pits then. Obviously going for a second lap, possibly the first lap. But here we go, so the engineers jack me up then. So, am I going to go nearly what I am? So 8/10 back to button. So that's what it was in the last couple of sessions. I thought that might have been because I was skipping, but no, I haven't skipped anything. And I'm still 8/10 ahead of him, so it's looking good for pole. But I'm certainly going to do another lap. I've got plenty of spare tyres, so it makes sense to do so. And nearly accidentally pressed the flying lap button there, but luckily realised last second and changed it to drive out. So I don't skip any time, as I mentioned previously. Don't skip any time, so I'm not gaining any advantage over the AI, since the fast forward function in this game isn't perfect. It isn't a true fast forward. Coming on the exit of the pits now then. 3 minutes left, so plenty of time to get around. I will only get one lap in, but yeah, I can just take my time. But I do need to first of all make sure I didn't cross that line, which I managed, and get my tyres nice and warm. As you can see me now swerving all over the track, trying to warm my tyres up, putting lots of energy through them. And I now bring up the tyre heat display conveniently. So I found that the more speed you've got on, the quicker your tyres want, which does make sense because you've got a lot of downforce on, there's a lot more stress you're putting through tyres, which warms them up quicker. So while I'm swerving here, it's barely making a difference, it's just 100 miles an hour, but when I'm doing 180 miles an hour on the end of the straight, it does make quite a big difference in how much you warm the tyres up, which is why it's actually quite difficult to warm your tyres up here in Singapore. A lot of people in the league were struggling to warm their tyres up. And in places like Monza, it's actually very easy, even though this track's longer, it's got more corners. In places like Monza, you're just a lot more high speed, so when you're swerving, you're doing a lot more, or you're warming the tyres up a lot more, because of the energy that's going through them. So there we go, there's that little nugget for you. You can see on the right side, my tyres are struggling to warm up though, they're not happy about warming up, are they? When you do a flying lap, it warms the tyres up for you. Interestingly, there's a bit of a glitch in the top right there, someone just invited me to the game, but my new record, I use MSI Afterburner to record my videos now, and interestingly, that only recorded half of it, which is interesting, but there we go. So you can see me now, I'm understeering on purpose, turning the wheel further than what the car can actually turn. That warms your front tyres up nicely. You can see my front tyres aren't fully warm. And we're off now then, so getting rid of the display on the right side, going to rich mixture then. Down into 4th for this final corner. Could have done with going a bit faster, but I didn't, but there we go, just double check I'm on rich mixture, and I am. 1 minute 30 left, so not going to get another lap in, but not worried about that. Ooh, locked my tyre slightly in the first corner. That wasn't great, but it didn't cost me too much time, maybe half a tenth, maybe a tenth, if I'm unlucky. But that's not too bad, so this is the corner, as I've said previously, which is important. Looks like I've absolutely nailed it. Could have taken a bit more speed in there. Could have gotten throttle a bit earlier, but I didn't. I've used, once again, just under half of my KERS. So DRS is wide open then for the run to the end of the first sector. What is it? I'm half a tenth up. 500s up my previous lap, so it's not a lot, but I am up. So I'm on for a 42.6 if I just maintain this gap to the end of the lap. But I'm pushing hard on that. I want to try and improve it by more. Ooh, I missed my apex there. That cost me time. That probably cost me that amount of time. At least, probably more, probably over a tenth. So I need to push hard then in the remainder of this lap to try and hopefully gain back the time. Ooh, Mass in the middle of the track there. Well, that was not good. The yellow flag did come on, so I knew something was coming up. I expect that's cost me time because that's normally right where I want to plant my car, ready for braking for that corner. So I have to take a very, very tight entry. And yeah, that's cost me a couple of tenths. And I've also run wide into this corner. So I've given up now. As you can see, I won't quit the session again because I don't want to skip any time. So there's only 15 seconds left to go, but so Master there, the AI do that sometimes, whether they have an issue I'm not really sure, but they basically stop on track, and unfortunately that cost me my lap since it's parked right on the racing line. But as I said, the yellow flags were there, so I knew something was coming up, so at least the yellow flags worked. But there we go. Still got a pretty good lap in. It looks like I'm still going to claim pole. No one's beating me. I don't think anyone is going to beat me as I now come into the pits. And that will end the session for me, but can't do anything about that. So, indeed, Button 8 tenths down. Webber 9 tenths down. Fernando Alonso 1.1 seconds down. So, absolutely smashed it with my special league setup then. Well, I won't call it special, but with my league setup. And we now go back to seeing these animations. We haven't seen these in a little while, since I don't bother showing them usually on my league videos. Nice punch to the air there for getting pole position, but there's no points in qualifying, as we all know, and I do need to beat Alonso. I'm a little way ahead of him in the championship, if I recall correctly, but I do need to continue to beat him if I want to become champion in my first year on F1 2012. So that's the end of that then. As I said previously, the race will be next week. Hopefully next Saturday is when I try and get the videos up, and I thank you for watching. Bye bye.